Jim, speaking of the indies, let's talk about some of AEW Dynamite again. Thankfully, you didn't watch the whole thing, and there wasn't too much to watch. They're getting into a phase now where there's long matches with people you don't care about, and then there's long multi-man matches with multiple people you don't care about every episode.
Just to break up the monotony, right? Instead of having these single matches you don't care about, they're going to give you multiple man matches you don't care about. I have problems with a number of these things, and they started the show, and I know, again, this is the classic definition of, for the kind of people that like that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing those people are going to like. When the WWE is giving us mega stars that are in major motion pictures and sitcoms, and AEW starts a show with the entrance of Danny Garcia, you're fucked already. And he goes to the ring and calls out MJF. I'm not waiting. It sounds like Candido and Tammy, that same, I'm sweating. The same accent. Is he from New Jersey or what the fuck's?
I believe he's from Buffalo, New York.
Well, and he spent some time in New Jersey. And then they do this constantly. So MJF is in the stands in a spotlight with security, and he's drinking wine, and he's protected up there. And just random observations, folks. It's so sad that MJF is having to try to get these not ready for primetime players over. But at the same point, this is not working for MJF either, because it's the same kind of shit most weeks with people that we really don't give a fuck about, except for the dwindling number of people that are in the arena watching it. And I don't know what they dwindled down to. And while I'm rambling, try to figure out what town they were in, because I don't know if they had enough people in the building to do a wide shot when they were doing cover pitches where the announcers would throw to something. They were shooting the ceiling again. And this is not productive for they're the guy that's dwindling, hanging by a thread of being their top star, MJF. And they're tearing each other down. And yes, he's verbally bullying Garcia like he does everybody. But Garcia is talking about MJF's acne, being covered by makeup, and his hair transplant in Turkey. And then he talks about the worst thing, his fake love for AEW.
Yeah, that's the worst thing.
That's the worst thing, other than this fucking devilish heel has ever done, is he doesn't really love the company that we all work for, because we're all worker bees. But you can ruin the illusion with a shoot as well as you can sell tickets and create heat with a shoot. And you can have a personal issue with somebody without exposing to the fans things that they might not particularly think about or even know about, but that will ruin the illusion of the other intended party, which I've found out early in Mid-South. You couldn't. The one thing we couldn't say about Mr. Wrestling 2 was that he was old, because guess what? He was fucking old. But he was still a salty old bastard, and he'd take it out on the boys in the ring, but it would diminish his aura. Because with the mask, he was kind of timeless. So we could say he was a criminal that had to hide his identity. Or we could make fun of his fucking knee lift, or his goofy fucking gyrations in the ring, or his gruff demeanor. But we couldn't say, but also he's almost fucking 60 and he's bald as a cue ball. So anyway, MJF had to listen to this whole goddamn thing while Garcia told the long story about MJF is going to feel a tingle when he picks up his future baby. He had him married off and had a baby, and when you pick up your future baby, you're going to feel a tingle, and you're going to have to tell this fictitious baby that Danny Garcia ended your career. And I read it was like, Again, there's MJF up there with the security guard standing by in the spotlight, and there's Garcia in the ring. It's like theater in the round meets a college debate class. It just slowed everything goddamn down.
MJF had the perfect reaction. That reaction was the best part of this whole thing.
Well, y'all, okay, give him a hand. Danny, learn to speak.
MJF just standing up silently and clapping his hands was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while.
But then he has to goddamn do his shit, so he let the fans, he paused to look at the fans or getting on him one time long enough, they started chanting, "Shut the fuck up," and they don't even try to bleep it on this porn channel that they're on. What a goddamn bunch of degenerates. Well, they allowed the word fuck on this program on national cable for 6 times. They're a bunch of filthy-mouthed people. Where's the Parents Resource Council? Where's Tipper Gore? Is she still able to be tipped over and sit out?
I don't think Tipper's been on the front lines of that battle in many, many years.
I bet you Al hadn't been on the front lines of Tipper in many years.
She was scared of Frank Zappa. Imagine what she'll think of Tony Khan.
Oh, my God. Well, she'll think, actually, didn't Frank Zappa have a son that looks somewhat like Tony Khan?
Dweezil?
Dweezil was his name, and Dweezil was his name. Oh. All right, so MJF is going to do his thing here, and finally he tells Danny that when he breaks his neck, and that, again, it's almost like a Moxley thing, where now MJF, everybody knows, especially this audience, knows that you're not really going to paralyze this guy for life. You're not going to break his neck and drink his blood. But then when he breaks Danny Garcia's neck, his mother will take care of Danny like she's taken care of all the other men on their backs in her bed in her day. And just...
By the way, your mother's a whore.
And she is gratified with so many of them. And so Danny bails out and starts running up there. And here the security comes, and Garcia's throwing those awful tater punches that I talked about last week, where he can't throw a punch and hit anybody's proper target with his fist, but he'll hit him in the face with some elbow, forearm, missive, whatever. And then he fights his way up to the box, and MJF, as soon as he charges MJF breaks the wine bottle over his head. Boom! And down he goes. And that's okay. That looked pretty good, right? Shit, we've done something here. Maybe MJF could have even looked like shocked, like it was a reflex, like Junkyard Dog didn't mean the hair cream, or not but Freebirds didn't mean the hair cream.
Yeah.
Didn't mean the hair cream in Junkyard Dog's eyes. It was an accident. But instead, he takes a sip of wine. He straightens his jacket, brushes himself off. He goes and sits Danny up, and Danny's got a little pap smear of juice to him.
That was a good little amount. I wouldn't call that a pap smear, would you?
Well, it dripped down right below his eyes, for fuck's sake. If you're going to get hit over the head with a bottle, like to use to the bone for the business, kid. But anyway, this is the worst. It is the fakest part, that Garcia's got to act like he's knocked out, and MJF cradles his head and squats down next to him. So, do you mind if I sit next to you? And cuts a dramatic whispering promo to him about all the horrible things he's going to do to him. And nobody's trying to stop it. All the security has disappeared. And again, like I said about on the WWE, where Priest disappeared and Uso disappeared after they had done offensive shit, right? One of the security guards, right before the bottle shot, all fucking Garcia did was shove him out of the way. What did he do? Fall in a goddamn crevice and be trapped like the little Timmy's down the well? Lassie, get help. Little Timmy's in the well. And everybody, the crowd is silent listening to this, and the spotlight is on it. It looked like a goddamn stage play. And MJF doesn't need to do fake shit. Do you see what my problem was with this thing that went so long?
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the ending too, and MJF kissing him and then just playing with the blood on his mouth or whatever the fuck was happening there. But I think there are elements of what MJF did that I like, but I've said it before, MJF being used to elevate these guys that should not be elevated right now is ridiculous, and it keeps happening. Feels like a couple of years of this. I mean, even the stuff with the 4 pillars, which didn't really work right, didn't really take off or click correctly, because he was the only one who could do a promo. It's just he keeps being used to elevate guys. He's better, like you said, interacting with other main event people, but there aren't any main event people. That's the problem.
Jerry, there are no people.
Ospreay's a main event person, and he's already dealing with other people and working on other things. Moxley's got his own...
How the fuck didn't we get a rematch on that shit, a la Drew and Punk? Because for fuck's sake, at least it was interesting.
Well, you asked before, Jim, about the attendance.
Oh, well, and hold on a second. I'll let me bring one more thing up, and then we can talk about the attendance, because this is still this segment. As soon as MJF is done with this dramatic rendition, did you hear Sockface's pitch from the broadcast desk?
Oh, I don't remember that specific one, but he had a really rough night. There were points where he couldn't figure out what words to say, and he got flustered.
Oh, well, that's normal.
And then Shivani would jump in with nothing. Just, oh, that's a great call. I'm digging this. This is great. Nothing. He says nothing. Bubblehead.
Bubblehead? You bubble-headed booby?
But what did he say?
Well, the point is the pitch. Now, examine what has happened from a broader standpoint. Daniel Garcia, one of the wrestlers, has called out one of the other wrestlers, MJF. MJF's in the stands. They've had words back and forth. It's led to a fight where at least 5 to 7 security guards have apparently been paralyzed or rendered in some type of coma. And then a bottle got broken over Daniel Garcia's head. And MJF was drinking his blood, and nobody was able to stop it. And then Sockface says, well, we're going to get medical attention for Daniel Garcia, but right now to Backstage, and our colleague, Renee Moxley Good, who was smiling, thanks, guys, with 4 baby faces who were all, Willow was there smiling, and Briscoe was there smiling. And Kyle O'Reilly was there making funny, goofy faces, because why not? His career is over anyway, poor fella. And Ospreay came in smiling. Even if they pre-taped it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they had to know where they were putting it in the show. They acted like, well, yeah, fucking Garcia may have brain damage and he's bleeding like a stuck hog, but we got to get this fucking interview in. Otherwise, we're in a good fucking mood.
Not even just any interview, but... Garcia may be dead, but Renee Moxley Good is talking to the comedy troupe. Let's go to them.
Yes.
It's always poorly formatted. They never do the right thing. Never, ever, ever. And these segments are awful. The promo, backstage promo segments specifically. Jim, AEW Dynamite was in Milwaukee at the Milwaukee Panther Arena. As of yesterday, what time was this? As of 4:30 p.m. yesterday, so 2 hours before the doors opened, according to WrestleTix, 2,448 tickets distributed. The previous time they were there, for Dynamite in April of 2023, 3,273 tickets distributed.
Well, that ain't nothing to write home about, but they were down 1,000, but that's distributed. And as we found out, and we may talk about it separately in more detail, but Wembley Stadium, Tony said over 50,000 sold. WrestleTix or whoever reported 53,000 distributed. The turnstile count apparently was 46,000. So again, you could take 10% as an average off of these tickets distributed number to get the number of people in the building. And what did this...
And by the way, that doesn't explain how Tony said there were over 50,000 sold.
Well, because, see, that's to a Mark who is not even used to using the terminology. He might, we've sold over 50,000 tickets because he heard, we got 50,000 tickets out. And he doesn't bother to get the breakdown. He just.
Hey, you want to hear something just as scary? Next week, they're at the Rupp Arena again.
Oh, boy.
Lexington, Kentucky, Wednesday, September 11th. As of now, 2,305 tickets distributed. The current setup is 3,301. The last time they were there, last August, for Collision, 3,228 tickets sold. They're underperforming everywhere they go. Do you think they're going to get less than 3,228?
Well, I mean, again,
they would need to sell 900 tickets in a week.
No, they would need to distribute.
That's right.
900 tickets. So they can call Ticketmaster or call the building and say, print 500 tickets and send them over to such radio station. And so they may have that number may be over 3,000, but it won't be paid. And again, Rupp Arena in Lexington, right now they have 2,305 tickets out. And the capacity of the building, if it was full to the brim, 23,000. So they could almost do this in a fucking shipping container, is sitting on the floor of Rupp Arena. But where I was going with that was just that they had 2,000 people. What is this joint, this ballroom, this expo hall, this arena in
Milwaukee Panther Arena? I'll get you the attendance or capacity in a moment.
We'll pass by Okody and Felcher. Had a match that by the time they went to the ring, had the match, finished the match, and Take a Shit reappeared and chased off Okody. 23 minutes long.
Capacity is 12,700, although that may be for hockey.
Yeah, boy. Alrighty, so around 20% of a house. That's better than they'll do in Lexington. Okay, what? Again, I've got to bring to mind that maybe the plumber needs to go back for one of his cures. Is he on something? Does he see something else that we don't see? Does he see something that nobody else understands?
I'm not on dope. I'm just dope.
Dope is a word I would use. Yeah. As in the stork that brought him was arrested for carrying dope.
Hey, how'd you hear about that?
I got the arrest record of the stork. And the body cam footage. Should have seen when they pulled him over.
Can anyone be a successful badass character in green pants?
Well, and also, what if nobody even understands what the fuck he's doing? And what she's doing. Marina Shaffir. We don't know what she's doing. She beats up 4 random guys as they're walking through the back of the arena.
We've seen more women beat up male security guards on AEW in the last 2 months than ever in wrestling history.
You know what? After she beat up the first 3, the other guy should just pick up a pipe and just baseball batter in the fucking face. Make her look like she'd been chasing parked cars. Why wouldn't you?
Why doesn't anyone go for a double leg?
No, nothing. They just they go.
They bend over.
Oh my God! Yeah. Please don't kick me in the balls. Oof.
That'd be great. One day, one of the security guards gets overzealous and just clotheslines the shit out of her, and then they fire him on the air.
But they walk up, and there's the douchebag twins and Jungle Jackoff standing in the back in their, fine suits. And now, the last we saw Moxley, he was allegedly a babyface. The people cheered for him, and he did nothing to discourage this, even though his wrestling was all over the page. But now he looks at them, and he tells Jungle Jack, hey, I don't care what they say. You're a sweet kid. And this girl he's with is beating up innocent people at random for no reason. And so then, when they walk into the arena, tell me that they didn't benefit from Wild Thing, because listen to this lack of response with this generic. What is it? What kind of music is this generic music?
Crapola, I guess some people may say. But, it's interesting how many AEW stars have music with built-in crowd noise. Every time Ospreay comes out there, like, man, the house sounds good tonight. And then I'm like, no, that isn't them, because as soon as the music went off, so did they. And Moxley with Wild Thing, that's a loud song that gets people going. Judas, same thing. You just brought it up the other day about Judas. When Jericho came out singing that other shitty song at Wembley, it wasn't even that no one moved. No one wanted to hear it. It was terrible.
Well, Moxley's whole thing when he does the promo is he wonders where Darby Allin is. And in this bizarre manner that Moxley has, he put Darby over verbally and, but he wants to talk to Darby. And don't make me apply pressure. I'm not an impatient man. I just want to talk. And then he throws the microphone down and he walks out and she walks out and they walk out. And the people are like, what the fuck? And the announcers are actually saying how confusing this is. And this is a new attitude from Moxley, but this is confused. We don't know what he's talking about. And of course, they're keeping up the angle. But the thing is it good to have an angle where somebody is just confusing you and you don't know what he's fucking talking about? And you're admitting this.
No, so far this is not very good, and it seems to be trying to elevate Marina Shaffir. Not that anyone has really wanted that.
I think the people that want to do that are elevated themselves, or at least very high.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, real quick. I'm looking at the upcoming events. September 21st, 2024, Collision and Rampage. The Mass Mutual Center, Springfield, Massachusetts. 1,668 tickets distributed. The show's in 16 days.
Ooh.
Now, it's a smaller building. It's an 8,000 capacity building, apparently.
Well, they're not to 25% of it yet, though.
Yeah, no. The current setup, it's set up for 2,783, but 1,668 distributed. That's brutal.
All right, well, speaking of brutal, let's make a mention of Mercedes Mone murdering another segment, along with poor Camille, who is joined at the hip to her now. But this is where, I mean, there was no reaction for this. She's not over. She's a fake bad actress. She was talking about Sheeta. The fans chanted, "Holy Sheeta." And Sheeta did a promo on a screen wearing a suit and tie over her own shirt. And then Daniels came in and barred Camille from the match at the pay-per-view.
Daniel sucks in this role. I'm sorry.
They ain't doing much.
He does not work in this role at all.
He was more shocked at the shirt than anybody. But this was the segment where as soon as Mercedes is coming to the ring, I guess maybe the director thought, well, we'll try to neutralize some of Mercedes's naysayers, because some smartass in the crowd had a sign that said Cornette is irrelevant. So they zoomed in on the sign that said Cornette is irrelevant, and got a close-up of the guy standing behind him in the next row had a Cornette face t-shirt on. So I wonder, the fight that may have happened if that guy ever turned around backwards was probably more exciting than anything that happened on this show.
That is funny. I mean, the irony of that guy standing there with the sign and there's a fan right behind him with the shirt. The sign looked like shit, too. That was the most offensive part.
Well, yeah, it was just some homemade thing a guy did in the toilet or something with like a Sharpie.
Yeah, it was the worst looking sign I've seen on AEW TV, and they made sure to get a nice shot of it. And it backfired because all you did was trend the same night we put up the omnibus, coincidentally enough, about Jim Cornette trending.
Well, and that's the thing I trend for the most ridiculous things, and we do an omnibus about all the ridiculous things that have made me trend. And then the same day that it's released, I trend not only for this incident, but also because my attorney makes news again. And Cornette's lawyer, he's gonna fucking get AEW and then blah, blah, blah. So I don't even have to goddamn do anything. It's the existence of and the magnitude of me at this point.
How does it feel to be irrelevant? What's an irrelevant day like? What do you do when you wake up? And are you upset when relevance strikes?
Well, it hits me every day. It's like a heaviness. I wake up in the morning, I look up, and it's like a heaviness, and I say, "Hi, heaviness." It's Rodney Dangerfield, by the way. But no, once I feel the various offers for movies and motion pictures and sitcoms, and then I sit down to my Orgain protein shake for breakfast before I rub Harley Quinn's tummy, I just sit here and bask in the relevance of me. Anyway, speaking of irrelevance, they put Will Ospreay and the fucking company mascot on the same team in a 6-man tag. Pockets, O'Reilly, and Ospreay against Claudio, Useless, and Pac. And Brian, from the time they started going to the ring to the time that they finished this match and did an angle afterwards and then an interview about the angle, it was 30 fucking minutes. 30 fucking minutes with these multiple goofs mixed in with one of their new top guys for no reason. Oh, they made up a reason, but there's no reason for this booking malpractice. And then Danielson goes in the ring and raises the hands of the, Claudio and Useless were still there. Pac and Ospreay had gone somewhere else. And then the Buckaroos and Jungle Jack and O'Cody jumped them and got heat on them. And the babyfaces came back and cleared the ring out. And then they cut promos at each other with the fans chanting, "You fucked up, you fucked up." And there was a challenge for the pay-per-view this weekend. And then Danielson said, "And you're going to get your fucking head kicked in." And they bleeped that. And then they went to the back and Pac suplexed Ospreay on equipment cables. Or cases, rather, not cables. What?
Well, that was certainly a segment on a show with segments, but there was one big one that a lot of people were talking about coming out of this. It was all on the overrun, so I hope you caught it. But before I even ask you, did you see any of the tweets earlier in the day from Swerve Strickland?
Well, no, but fortunately they had played the video. Did you skip over the video earlier? Because they played it.
Oh, I didn't know. Did they play it on Dynamite?
Yes, they played it in the program. Well, we skipped over that too because I was going to tie it into this segment that we're talking about to make it more concise and more easily digestible for the audience, Brian. Earlier in the show, they had played a video of Swerve all humble and babyface with Nana, his manager, standing in front of the house that he grew up in, his childhood home, and had pictures of him in the home. I'd like to see some pictures of Swerve in a home, but no.
Come on.
He had the pictures and he basically, with his new AEW contract, he's finally achieved his lifelong dream. He's been able to purchase the house that he grew up in. It was a modest house, and I'm sure it held many wonderful memories, and they're standing in front of it. And you get a real good look at it. And that's a happy thing that happened, and he wasn't too over the top with it, but that's what happened, right? So then, as you said, 10 o'clock, the regulation program is already over with, and if you didn't DVR, but fortunately, I've enjoyed the antics of the Dunphy family on Modern Family, so I've been recording that, and I was able to see this part of the wrestling program. They're doing a contract signing with Swerve and Paige. And Swerve comes out and sits down at the table, and they play Paige's music, and he doesn't come out. And it's awkward, and then I think Shivani, we'll try this again. Hangman Adam Page, and they play his music again. And again, no pay. And the thing, they've established the gorilla position is right behind the curtain. Wouldn't they know if the motherfucker was not there? Especially if he wasn't in the building and nobody had seen him. I've worked in the television production of these things, You don't intro a son of a bitch unless he's standing at gorilla. So, but leaving them to this loophole. All of a sudden, Page pops up on the screen. And he's going in the front door of Swerve's childhood home. And he proceeds to do what I can only describe as an audition for a low-budget horror movie that he would be the star of, maybe if some of his friends pitched in. You know, like the do-it-yourself videos that became popular in the early 90s.
The Blair Elite Project.
There you go, or maybe the Blair Bitch Project. And he's talking, he said Swerve's father didn't love him. Probably told him to shut up so he could hear the TV. He was a mistake. They didn't mean to have him. I tell you, the parents are suffering on this program tonight. The mothers are whores and the fathers are drunken fucking cretins. And he breaks a window as he's, walking through, and then he goes outside on the porch and he gets the can of gasoline again. I'm telling you, if we could do an investigation of the unsolved arsonists or arsonies, the various arson offenses, I bet you some of these people are responsible. They've got a goddamn fetish with this stuff.
Tony Khan has funded more arson than maybe anyone in American history.
BP oil has not fucking spilled as much gasoline out in public as... So anyway, he pours gasoline on the porch and he walks out and he sits in an overstuffed easy chair out in the yard with the house in back of him.
By the way, was that chair in the house and he brought it out there for this, or did he bring the chair with him?
Well, this is kind of like one of those questions, kind of like the Louisville pooper that we talked about on the last show. And by the way, he's still on the loose.
No, is he?
He's still on the loose, but they've increased police patrolling in the area, and the homeowner has got police tape that he's put around his front porch, so he hoped that they won't. But yeah, I think the guy's artificially doing it also because it looks runny. I think he's shoving chocolate pudding up his ass and then squatting down and being able to just shit instantly. Because it doesn't look real. It looks runny. But the homeowner did say that it was poop, so maybe he's giving himself some kind of enema right before he comes up on the porch, because it's just instantly. You see from the video.
I don't know, but maybe Adam Page could have just done that. Just taking a shit on his porch and left.
We weren't going to sub-reference anymore. But anyway, the overstuffed easy chair that is somehow it's not a yard chair. It's a house chair. He's sitting in it, the house in back of him. He cuts another long, dramatic promo while Swerve is having to stand in the ring and emote. And oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I do? And then Page lights the gasoline and the flame goes in a trail behind him like in the movies, because this was a special effect. And it goes up the porch, and then suddenly the whole house just blows up like he lit the goddamn ammo dump at F-Troop. And the problem is with all of this, when they pull back and he's in the yard, it's not the same fucking house. It had a railing across the porch. There was no railing on the other house. People were putting the pictures up on Twitter. Now, are they trying to say, was he out in the backyard? Did he put some type of goddamn plastic explosive in the rooms also to create this? It's fucking phony.
See, that'd be the best story ever if all of a sudden next week they come out, he burned the wrong house. There's some family that he's
But then why was Swerve looking at it going, oh, it's my fucking house? He should have been standing there going, you dipshit, you went to the wrong house.
By the way, if Swerve lived in Washington, in Seattle, or somewhere in that area, and it's 3 hours behind what it was on the East Coast, and it was 10 o'clock.
Why was it dark?
Why was it so dark?
Because they shot it in Virginia. Where else are you going to find a shitty house like that fucking burned at a moment's notice? And besides that, when they called the fire department And the fire department answered. The guy said, my house is on fire. And he said, whose house? And they said, Swerve's house. So now this guy has burned down, even in the worst of neighborhoods. You know, if you burn down a house, that's approaching a six-figure loss these days, and significantly more in most places.
In Washington State, it's expensive to have a house, yeah.
Well, I mean, but let's take just get a look at the house. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm surprised that with a tornado that came through last week in that neighborhood, it did $3 million worth of improvements. But still. So they burned the man's house down now. Burning down the house. Hey! Fake show. And I'm glad it's over. So fake show.
Last week on the fake show, Swerve was clearly the heel, antagonizing Adam Page.
Yes.
Adam Page finally dressed up that, and then Swerve just came right back at him. I've seen your wife. Made it real personal. Adam Page left. Who's the baby face? Who is the baby face?
I don't know if I'm rooting for either one of them. Because if you know, when Page can say, well, I burned your childhood home down, but you terrorized my baby. Remember when he broke in Page's house and terrorized the baby, the unseen baby in the crib?
That's right. The unseen people in this house, we have no idea what was happening in this. Adam Page just lit a house. Again, the funny thing would be if they kept the camera rolling and some guy ran up, that's my house! What have you done to my house?
Either that or they should have got the special effects guy to do the thing they did with old Jungle Jack off on the pay-per-view and have a guy run out on fire and go, oh, shit. Oh, goddamn.
This is not Swerve's house. Swerve's house is that one, and there's like an inflatable knot.
I don't even if it was Swerve's house, it could have been Swerve's uncle. Uncle Swerve. And he could have fucking run out. Oh, goddamn it.
So, again, they have the pay-per-view in a few days. We're not even doing a preview clip because there isn't enough time. The pay-per-view's right around the corner.
Well, yeah, and they're announcing main events as we speak.
As we speak, so we don't even know what'll happen. But they do this to heat up, quite literally, this feud going into this pay-per-view. Again, this is during the overrun. Dave Meltzer says he studies it and it goes up and it goes down. We've been, it seems like every single week, talking about it being a big loss for everything with Danielson and Swerve. We'll see what happens with this. What do you think is, you know, is this a moment that will propel interest? Is this a moment that's akin to jumping the shark or literally lighting the house on fire?
Yeah, I was thinking Shark Week. Because even the most devoted fans have to laugh at this, don't they? That they've gone this far and trying to make people believe this shit, and they can't even make the house look the same?
See, that's the thing. At least if it was the same house, you could just focus on, okay, they took it really far with this, and there's no cops or fire department or anyone. No one's screaming. No one's saying, what's going on? Nothing. This house is in the middle of nowhere.
They're in Wartburg, Tennessee.
You can look past all of that, but, you know.
But the sports-based presentation, banger after banger after banger. Oh, and occasionally, it burned down somebody's house. You know, now, if they'd have done like they did in the old days, remember when the guys wanted to heat up an angle, they'd go out and they'd get in a fight in public and get arrested? Now, if he had burned the house down without permission and somebody called the cops and he'd been arrested for it, it made the news. Now that would have heated the goddamn thing up.
See, this never would have worked ever, because even though wrestlers hated each other and there were feuds, as we saw with Eddie Gilbert running over Jerry Lawler, if something like this happened, the police would be like, hey, wait a minute. If this ain't real, you better say it now.
Yeah.
Because we're getting calls.
Well,
he burned the fucking house down.
Nobody called the police on this, by the way. Yeah, that's why Lawler killed the angle. He had to go out and apologize. Not apologize, but just go out and acknowledge that he was still alive and go out and vow revenge on Eddie Gilbert after he'd been run over because people were convinced he'd been murdered and they were calling the cops and wouldn't stop. But, yeah.
We'll stop unless you have more to say about Adam Page, the arsonist.
What do you think the odds are that next week old Swerve comes back and shoots Hangnail's horse?
You know, I mean, it's AEW, it's Tony Khan, it's not crazy, the idea they would kill a horse on TV. But I would take the under.
You want to be under the horse?
No.
I'd rather be on top of that.
In terms of what I could do over at the wonderful DraftKings app. Sportsbook app.
Yes. The over and the under on the, well, they do horses. I'm pretty sure they do horse racing. But right now, you know what they're doing? The National By-Gum Football League is what they're doing over at the DraftKings Sportsbook. If you download the app right now, wherever you get your favorite apps, you will know that, and you will know that it's easy for beginners to do this, Brian. Now, it may be complicated in people's mind if they haven't wagered on the football before. They may think, well, I'm in over my head. I'm not an expert. I can't do this. Anybody can step up and place their bets, ladies and gentlemen, because you can even do simple stuff like picking a player to score a touchdown. And you bet this player that you like, that has a history of doing these type of things, he's going to score a touchdown in this game. And if he does, boom, you win. I got a loophole here for you, pal. You want to know what it is?
Yeah.
I figured this out. If you bet individually, how many people's on a football team? Is it 11 or 12?
I don't know.
You don't know. You're a sports fan. How do you not know how many people's on a goddamn football team?
Because I don't watch football.
Well, you're ruining my whole flow here because I thought that you would instantly.
11 players.
11. See, I knew it was either 11 or 12. They didn't want to have the even dozen. Well, if you just bet on each one of those 11 players is going to score a touchdown, well, then one of them's bound to, so you're going to win. See how that works? I got the whole thing covered.
Who's the best football player to transition to a wrestler, in your eyes, ever?
Wahoo McDaniel, Ernie Ladd, Bronco Nagurski for his time period, but that's apples and oranges. And then, since you just sprung that on me, several more that I'm probably not thinking about, but it'd be hard to top Wahoo and Ernie, wouldn't it? And then, the ever popular fucking Otis Sistrunk. That worked out for everybody in Georgia.
It's hard to top Wahoo and Ernie because they were actually really good players who ended up being
really good wrestlers.
Really good wrestlers. There were sometimes, good players who don't become good wrestlers or shitty players that became wrestlers because they had nothing else to do. But back to DraftKings.
Yes, well, the odds, as I said, you bet on each one of those son of a bitches, and one of them's got to score a touchdown. But you say, now, what if they don't score a touchdown? What if the other team scores touchdowns? Then bet on all 11 of them too. And that way, certainly, somebody's going to score it. Well, I guess unless it's a scoreless game. Well, but you're going to significantly increase your odds that way. But I'm going to work out the kinks in this theory. But anyway, what you do is you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JCE. And if you're a new customer, when you bet $5, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium, where they do all the premium things that you normally have to pay for, but it is gratis to you, which means you pay nothing. Brian, what's that normally?
Gratis? Nothing.
No, I mean, the charge on it, the NFL Plus. That's got to be it's a pretty penny.
It's a premium charge, that's for sure.
It's a premium charge. Well, not to you, as long as you bet $5, $250 in bonus bets, and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only, because only on premium ! Yes. Only on DraftKings.
You're doing a great job, Excalibur. Keep going.
Yes. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours if you want it, but just bet on some of these simple things, and you can get the lines and the odds and the evens and all that stuff on the DraftKings Sportsbook app also, that all the people use out in Vegas and over in Monaco And Caesars in Indiana, all the places that have the big major gambling centers. And Atlantic City. And Wildwood.
And again, with DraftKings, you don't have to think about any of those. You could just sit at home and pick up your phone.
Well, yeah, because they got all the information that all the important people use around the world.
That's right. They also have something they want us to share, information they want us to share with all the listeners.
Didn't we hire a new voiceover guy? We're going to give him the easy stuff to start out with, the light lifting.
Yeah, you see, the problem is it's kind of like a Gallagher 2 situation. This man wants to be known as Lou Kippelman 2.
I thought his name was Melvin Kimball.
Oh, well, let's go to this.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Okay.
Holy shit, he's good.
Well, they must have sped that up or something.
And Oregon and New Hampshire have jumped on the Void train also. That's not even in my copy.
That's well, once again, Jim, never ever forget, the crown is yours with DraftKings. One more time, how can the listeners get their DraftKings?
Well, I'd tell you if I hadn't already gone to the other screen, but they can go and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JCE. That's for the $250 in bonus bets and the 1 month of NL Plus Premium, NFL Plus Premium. I understand some of the players will come to your house and sit on the couch and watch a game with you.
I understand that isn't true at all, no.
Well, you never know. If you leave your door open on game day, they might wander in for some free beer.
Well, you never know if you leave your door open. That's true. With DraftKings, you'll always know that the crown is yours.
And then the door's always open.
With DraftKings, the crown is yours.
For you to win money.
The crown is yours.
Yes, it certainly. Well, the show is yours.
The show is mine. All right, well, it ain't the Cow Palace, but Jim, let's talk television ratings. And before we get to Dynamite, we're going to talk about the road to Dynamite rather briefly here. AEW Rampage on Friday, August 30th, 10 to 11 p.m. That's their normal time slot, I believe.
Yes,
TNT.
it is.
According to WrestleNomics, 218,000 viewers.
Oh.
It is the second lowest overall number in the history of Rampage, including preemptions, and the second lowest in the key demo in the history of Rampage. They followed that up the next night, AEW Collision on TNT, 8 to 10:03 p.m. Again, I think that's
normal time slot.
Yeah, I think that's the regular time slot. 289,000 viewers on average, the lowest overall number in the history of the show, excluding preemptions. Which, you know, again, the way he uses preemption, I'm not sure if it's correct, but that's the road to Dynamite. And those are the two shows that they've been moved around a bunch, and they've been booked horribly for a very long time. What do you think of these numbers? There's always competition. There's always college football on a Saturday.
Well, yeah, they did the college football last year at this time, right? But last year, right up until about this time, Punk was still on the Saturday night show. So they would do 500, 600,000. They did, I believe, 7 or 8 for the debut episode. And if they went against a WWE big show, they were still doing, I think we were laughing when they were doing that and doing 400,000 last fall after they lost Punk and football was going on. Well, geez, they did 400,000 or like 380,000 for a WWE show they were up against. Now this is 507,000 viewers for 3 hours of primetime network cable television on Friday and Saturday nights total. That when you're coming up on a renewal, how the fuck do they expect these giant raises?
You have to ask yourself where the value is. Again, the value with AEW is cheap programming. If all of a sudden that cheapness is doubled, it's not as cheap anymore. But those are the Collision and Rampage, or Rampage and Collision in order, ratings leading into Dynamite. AEW Dynamite on September 4th, TBS, 8 to 10:07 p.m. On average, watched by 660,000 viewers.
Oh, the go-home show for the pay-per-view. I know we're running long here because we've got the other commitments, but I will try to keep my comments brief. But oh boy!
It is the lowest overall number and key demo number since August 7th, and the fourth lowest non-preemption Dynamite in key demo ever.
Well, where did they start and where did they finish?
Jim, quarter one, and these were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. The Daniel Garcia MJF live angle. The Will Ospreay and Conglomeration and Willow Nightingale backstage angle. 810,000 viewers.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, this ain't gonna be pretty, is it?
We go to quarter 2, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m. A very pretty match. Kazuchika Okada versus Kyle Fletcher, with picture-in-picture ads twice. 636,000 viewers.
Holy Christ. So wait, I can't do math with numbers that high. 174,000 viewers in 15 minutes?
But wait. Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., the continuation of Okada versus Fletcher and the post-match with Takeshita, Swerve Strickland, and Prince Nana's video.
That was where they had the house there.
You know what? I didn't see Takeshita either, so I must have left during the end of that match because I was so bored with it.
Well, you were one of the 174,000.
Yeah, no kidding. People go to the kitchen and never come back. An ad break, and Jamie Hayter versus Robin Renegade. 614,000 viewers.
So that's down 196,000 from where they started 45 minutes ago. And by the way, I understand why people go to the kitchen and don't come back with all these home invasions going on. Swerve and Paige and everybody just busting into each other's houses. Well, you go to the kitchen, you could get tied to the fucking chair.
Based on the key demo number here, it appears the young people don't even own houses. Maybe doing something else during this time because it's well below the trend line here. Quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. The Roderick Strong hook backstage angle. The Moxley and Marina Shaffir Jack Perry confrontation. An ad break. The Moxley live promo. And the Learning Tree Orange Cassidy angle. 651,000 viewers.
Wow, so that actually gained back 37,000 people, which shows you how bad they didn't want to see the shit that came beforehand.
Well, from there, Jim, we go to quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m., the big 9 o'clock hour. We can't really call it that anymore. They've killed the 9 o'clock hour. Mariah May versus Nyla Rose with picture-in-picture ads. The Deonna Purrazzo video, and an ad break, 643,000 viewers.
So they lose 8,000 at the top of the hour, but at least they're not as bad off as they were in quarters 2 and 3.
Well, we go now to quarter, 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The Mercedes Moné Hikaru Shida live promo.
Oh, boy.
And the Young Bucks Jack Perry backstage promo, followed by an ad break. 597,000 viewers.
Ooh.
That is the low for the show, I will tell you that. That is the low in the key demo. That is the low in the overall number. Mercedes Moné and the Young Bucks and Jack Perry.
Wow, a lot of high-priced salaries in the lowest segment of the show. Hold on, let me at 203, 213. So they are 213,000 viewers down from the start of the program, which would be over 25% of the audience that they started with.
Well, we go from there to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. the Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac match against, I don't know why I said it that way, Claudio, Wheeler, and Pac versus Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Will Ospreay. 2 times picture-in-picture. 652,000 viewers.
Good. So that's intentional that those people left for that 15 minutes, isn't it?
Mercedes Moné, followed by the Bucks. Why would you sit there? If you've been watching this show, why would you want to see more of them?
643 to 597 to 652. That's a statement.
We go now to quarter 8. I remind you, there's a 7-minute red-hot overrun.
Burning down the house.
9:45 to 10 p.m. The continuation of the 6-man match and the post-match with the Elite, Bryan Danielson, Pac, and Will Ospreay. 675,000 viewers.
I can't believe that gained anything, but...
7-minute overrun. Adam Page burns down Swerve Strickland's house. 665,000 viewers.
They lost viewers for the home burning. Well, burn, baby, burn.
If you're going to burn a house, do you put it in the middle of the show? Do you put it at the front of the show? Where do you format into the show the burning of a house to capitalize on it?
I mean, it's... And again, the problem is that you couldn't really tease. They figured out a way to do it with the famous Pillman and Austin, and somebody's got a gun and blah, 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 live remote to tease it throughout the show. But how do you tease a guy who's going to burn another motherfucker's house down through the show to keep so the people would know, oh, is he really going to burn the house down or not? At the end of the show, we'll find out. It just came out of goddamn nowhere. They had announced a contract signing in the ring. And we see those, regularly. So what the fuck, right?
Missed opportunity to sell tickets for people to see a house burn down?
I don't think anybody would have bought them. What are you going to do? You're going to go out there in the middle of the night and watch this fucking idiot burn a fucking fake house down? Or fake burn it was a real house and they fake burned it down.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite. They're literally burning the house down now. At what point does Shad say, hey, this metaphor ain't funny? But that was AEW Dynamite. Well, Jim, like we said, this is going to be a shorter than normal edition, and there's still big things to talk about, and we'll be talking about them on The Experience this week, including a lawsuit. The Wrestling News broke the news. Kevin Kelly, the boys from Dalton Castle's troop of him and the boys. I don't know what you call them, really.
the boys of Dalton Castle.
I don't know what you call them.
Like the 5 fingers of Dr. T or the hands of Orlac, but go ahead.
But they are suing AEW, Ring of Honor, Tony Khan, and Ian Riccaboni for a number of things, including defamation, and you'll hear more about it. The man who is representing them is a man we know well, Jim.
Well, yes, and that lawsuit also involves breach of contract, wrongful termination, and the reason why we want to take our time in discussing this, the potential misclassification of pro wrestlers as independent contractors when they possibly should be employees. We've broached that subject a time or two before. But the reason why I've been trending and the reason why that this news is out is because this man is the man that is carrying the torch once again for the downtrodden little guy against the big bad billionaire. You know him, I know him, we all know him, we all love him. Play that music.
Call Stephen P. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Still to the rest.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, as we said, we will be going into more detail on the various aspects of this suit on this weekend's experience or this week's experience, wherever you find your favorite experience. But one thing that we do know, and they found out recently out in Calabasas County, Stephen P. New does not take cases that he doesn't believe that he can emerge victorious from. So things may be coming to light And we'll try to discuss this in greater detail on the next issue of The Experience, or the next edition, or the next broadcast, the next show. In the meantime, if you want to get in on the hottest attorney since Perry Mason, then just go to newlawoffice.com or dial the magic number 877-50-STEVE, and Stephen P. New will be on somebody else's case on behalf of your case.
That's right. And by the way, the person who submitted a Stephen P. New song a few weeks ago, they wrote to me to say that the song was not AI. So we appreciate that. We appreciate creativity, whether it sounds like shit or whether it's really good.
Wasn't that the one that we were really pretty easily able to tell that wasn't AI because there was no intelligence involved?
Oh, no, there was a lot of intel. Don't insult
Oh,
everyone.
I know, I'm just kidding.
But of course, if you're insulted, newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE.